Hi, Chris on here of HomeTeamGameDev.com. Although today's video is going to be about self-command again. It's my productivity audiobook available at self-command.com if you don't have it yet. And like I mentioned in the other video about it, pretty simple stuff. General idea, I have a whiteboard, I have a marker. I put on here what I'm doing right now. Think of like one item to-do list and when I'm doing it by. So here it says I made the self-command SC YouTube video by 4 p.m. Now a couple things this helps me do that I want to call attention to today. And any given one of these obviously is not going to be anywhere near all the material covered in the program. If you want the rest of it, self-command.com. But I want to call attention to a couple things because I know it can seem silly. Why on earth is it useful to write outside of myself what I'm doing? And part of what it's helping me do is it's making visible where otherwise there's an invisible problem. And so for those of you who I suspect most of you watching this channel are game programmers or software engineers of some kind, or if you've ever done physical repair work, like I used to repair pinball machines, quite often when there's a problem in a process, one of the things we need to determine is where that problem is. So, if you're using a debugger, there's better ways to do this. If you're not using a debugger, you throw in console log statements in JavaScript, debug log statements in Unity. If you're repairing a physical electronic device, you're using a multimeter to figure out where is signal not making its way down this line. Like I said, when I'm repairing old pinball machines. And the same thing here, what it does for me to put it down is it helps visualize, first of all, am I intending to do something? As long as I've conditioned myself that while I'm doing something, and granted, this doesn't mean like every little tiny thing, but while I'm doing something that I mean to throw, let's say at least half an hour of my life at, if I know that I mean to put something on that board, if I mean to do the thing, and I haven't actually put anything on that board, and I'm wondering why haven't I done the thing yet, I can ask myself, did I ever actually intend to do it? Did I make the decision that I'm starting to do this? And that sounds like an absurd reason to not do things, but I'll tell you, as someone who's been doing this, sometimes that's the problem. I never actually meant to take action to start it. I wanted to do it, I wanted to have it done, until I wrote it down, put it on there, well, I didn't make the decision to do it. And the reason why that's important is because that's a different fix than I put it down, but what I did, I didn't do. Right? That's a different kind of problem. And again, it's like when we put debug log, console log statements in programming, those statements don't fix it. Those help us spot kind of a breadcrumb trail of where, more information than we had before about where the problem is happening. And so another way I've been using it lately in working on my meditations adaptation, again, plainmeditations.com. Next video will be more about that stuff, another example from there. When working on that, the reason why I can say with confidence that it's over 100 days of work and hours, hundreds of hours of work, is because I've been logging that. And when I do that, I have a set goal that I plan out in Excel, how many pages I'm trying to knock out a day on a steady basis. And I can work with myself and figure out, okay, well, how much work am I trying to do by when? That helps me scope the amount of time I expect to do it in. And one of the things that helps me figure out is, okay, let's say I'm trying to do 5 pages a day. And it depends on what phase of the project I was on. When I was merging the initial text, it was closer to 2 from different public domain translations. When I was going through editing, I can knock out sometimes 5 in a good day. Depends what else I have going on my schedule. But if I put down, I made it to page 113 by 5 p.m. or whatever. And the time blows past. And I'm looking at my progress. And I'm realizing, okay, well, maybe the problem was what I put down was trying to bite off more than I can chew at one time. And so another technique, another point I talked about in that self-command.com program is aim closer. And all that means is that when there's something that I mean to do, something I'm trying to get at, if instead of pointing myself at the very end of it, I take my same interest of what I'm trying to do at it, and I pull in closer. Instead of saying I did 5 pages by 5 p.m., I look at, I made 1 page of progress by, I don't know, it depends on what time scale we're looking at, 3:30 or 4:10 or whatever it works out to be, so that I give myself a fifth as much to do in a fifth as much time, and suddenly having this tighter time frame, it's a little bit like a game jam, where as soon as I start, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's easier to not get sidetracked. It's easier not to not assume I'm going to make up the lost time. Or here's what else is good about it, because again, we're making visible what was before an invisible misunderstanding. If the time it actually takes me for 1 page is way longer or way shorter than what I estimated in my time target at, I can much more easily learn that from 1 page at a time than I can distribute it across 5 times the pages. Now, if I did want to try to take down set 5 pages at once in one sitting as a single, I'm doing this, here's what I'm doing right now, until I do it, then I erase it. If I'm doing that, I'm making a more informed decision, informed by when I took on 1 page, 2 pages at a time. Even still, as somebody who cranked through hundreds of these pages, multiple times through, and I'm still late in my third pass, I'm starting recording process. Even still, I often find it helps me to aim closer. I'll get overconfident, try to sit down, write down, I'm going to do 3 pages in one sitting, 5 pages in one sitting, because I knocked it out the day before. Sure enough, it doesn't happen at the same pace, the same clarity, the same efficiency as when I aim for, here's my page, here's my time I'm doing it by. 1 page at a time, rather than 5. And this applies all over the place, right? If you're trying to get yourself to work on your game. And this thing, we're in home team game dev, where part of why I develop my self-command materials, because it applies to what people when they're trying to do sometimes. It's really hard to say, I'm going to build this giant game, I'm going to sit down and work on this giant game. And you could have hundreds of sessions of that and make virtually no meaningful progress. When instead we break down our tasks into single sittings, which essentially is what we do with our team Trellos, where we build cards out, that essentially those cards become Git commits. And suddenly it's much easier to sit down and say, I'm doing this one thing. That's what I'm attacking. I'm doing it today before I go to bed, or whatever it works out to be for your schedule. You sit down, you focus on it, you do it, and those add up because you planned for how those fit together. And that's again where the kind of this idea of tackling a small task, and if it's not happening, I have more information. If I'm abandoning a task, this is again where it helps me to visualize it. When I've conditioned myself that if I'm doing something that I mean to do with, again, a broad metric here, more than half an hour of my time, and I decide to change my plan for what I'm doing, I say, you know what, answering these emails is more important. Or I say, I don't know, I should make a YouTube video today. Or I should edit my podcast. Or any of these other various things I juggle, IGDA, Indicate stuff. Something else came up. Okay, well, I have to consciously erase this, write something else down, and that means that I'm acknowledging a switch of, I'm not getting this done right now. Right? And until I do that, it means this is still what I'm doing. This is still what I prioritize. This is still what I set my attention on. And how helpful this is, not only for the fact that if I don't switch away from it by accident, right? I don't get caught up in something else because I wouldn't give it more of my time or more than a brief bit of attention if I had something else on my board. It also means that if I did pivot what I'm doing, I've let myself off the hook for why I didn't do that. Because I took my attention off saying that that's the thing that I'm here to do, that's the thing I'm concentrating from. I made a conscious choice that at the end of this day, heck, at the end of this sitting, I would rather have those emails sorted out, applications sent out, IGDA event planned, whatever it is I'm doing, rather than what I initially had sat down to do. And that's fine. Obviously, I got no one breathing down my neck, no manager, boss berating me or mad at me about the fact I changed my task. But we're always watching ourselves. We're always our own manager. And that's where I think the last point I want to make today about this sort of real basic technique, core at the center of self-command.com stuff, which lots more angles and material on there, is this idea that when we're doing something, we still need this sort of separation of a manager or a someone giving us the task we're doing. That has to be us, but you still need that. And I think of the example for this for, if you must want to get good at batting, you can't just swing the bat without any pitch, right? The ball has to be moving for you to bat it. If you're not a baseball person, I'm sure there's plenty of examples you can get. I'm not even a baseball person, but I think you probably get the idea. And essentially, you have to be able to hit your own pitches if you want to be able to be your own boss, manage your own time, work on your own projects, finish audiobooks, make podcasts, do things where someone else isn't forcing you to do it, do things where you don't have a paycheck on the line for it necessarily, or at least not as directly, do things where it's a project that's important to you, it's your own initiative, it's something that you want to be your contribution to the world, it's something where you want to, volunteer with a nonprofit or whatever you want to do. You still have to be able to find a way to set those up as tasks you're going to do, put them in front of yourself, and then this is again where the board I find helps me and other people I've worked with through the self-command techniques. Now, once it's on that board, I can take my manager hat off. I already threw the pitch. Now I can focus on batting. You see the difference? I'm not constantly still rethinking, is this the right task to do? I'm not still in a situation where I'm at a nebulous, well, there's 9 things I could be doing now. Because at some point, before this, I made a choice. Right now, I'm making this video about this topic by 4 p.m. That's what I decided was the best thing to do. And then I trust myself from 5, 10, 15, half an hour, 2 hours ago, that was the right thing to do with this pocket of time. Once I finish it, I erase it, and I'm back to, okay, well, now what task I'm going to pitch myself? Put it on the board, repeat. No, it sounds simple. I think especially with as much as people have going on lately of a lot of things tying up our attention, distracting us, A lot of people suddenly working from home where we don't have the same energy as a co-working space, as an office, as bosses overlooking our shoulder constantly. It can be harder to hold ourselves accountable. It can be harder to keep doing little things we mean to do. And so hopefully the same sort of techniques that I really developed around personal projects, side hustles, personal initiatives, small business, etc. can still be applicable outside of game dev sphere and outside of those other kind of domains over as well into just helping you do the things you mean to do. If you'd like to check out more about that, check out self-command.com. As I mentioned before, it's not free material, but a lot of work in developing it. That said, there's also an agreement on there, an option if you look for the link. If you would not be able to pay for it for one reason or the other, it's also a way to do a bit of volunteering as a commitment to that on the honor system. I trust y'all. That's it for today. Next video will be about, I think, Plain Meditations update. Another home team game dev one after that. Trying to get back on this routine of these 3 topics in some rotation. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.